elaborate a little bit more about mal. What I understand from mal is I heard some also vegetalistas talk about it in another podcast or documentary, and they were also calling that susto. I don't know if it's the same, um, because susto maybe is, from my perspective, would be more related to trauma. But can you elaborate a little bit more about it?
Yeah, there's different kinds of mal. So once you have a broad generalization like illness, there's all different kinds. And what they call susto is the precursor to what we would think of as a post traumatic stress response. It's what happens in the moment of the trauma or the stress itself. It's like a great fright or a great overwhelm to your organism, to yourself. So your senses get overwhelmed. It could be through a kind of accident or a kind of assault or a great shock or fright that happens to you. And that moment, that is called the susto. And there are different ways of describing what happens to you after that. And the nature of the medicine is to diagnose that, okay, someone has experienced susto. The most recent one I saw was a lady was coming out of the bathroom and a big dog jumped on her, didn't attack her, but jumped on her, and she just fell to the ground. And the moment of the big dog scared her so much that her heart was racing and she had a big adrenaline response. And, the next, she felt dizzy. And the next day, she just didn't feel right. Like she felt off. And so you say, okay, that's susto. And then there's a treatment for that susto, and that's a kind of mal. And in that state, they say you're susceptible. It's like a weakened state. You're susceptible to other kinds of mal, other vibrational states, other people's negativities, other people's kinds of abuses, etc. And so there's an intervention to treat susto, typically right after it. And just to share a little more, when I first came to the Amazon, one of the things I realized was that the people I lived out with in the forest didn't have words for depression, anxiety, or stress. And I realized that was because they treated susto before susto became those kinds of illnesses. So if somebody has like a really bad day and then they have a really bad day, they get treated instead of somebody having a really bad day after a really bad day for years and turning into some kind of really terrible depression. They treat it, they truncate, they cut the problem, and they give immediate intervention and solve the problem before it becomes this habituated state. And they do it for people of all ages. And so I also found that to be a very sophisticated form of social healing, a recognition of a need within an individual, and a mechanism to intervene and provide healing for the person. And then once you heal the susto, a person just moves on without carrying the trauma.